Good evening and welcome to the Nation Leadership Forum. I'm Smriti Vidyarthi, your host. Now, the theme of this panel discussion is customer-centric leadership, brought to you by Collar. And I'm joined by distinguished guests to lend their expertise on this subject. Now, on the panel is Laura Collar. She is the Chief Sustainability and DEI Officer at Collar, which is a 150, well, I could say year old, but I'll say year young global manufacturing company. Also with us, Florence Nyole. She is the President of the Architectural Association of Kenya and a leading voice on design and sustainability in the architectural world. And also with us is Sakina Hassan Ali. She is the Head of Development Consulting and Research at Has Consult Real Estate, a relatively young company that people trust when looking for spaces which they can call home. Welcome to you all. Now, the diversity of roles, well, there is one significant common factor which explains their success, and that is keeping the customer at the heart of every decision they or their organizations make while innovating or delivering products and services. Now, customer-centric leadership, with its focus on empathy, collaboration, and responsiveness, plays a pivotal role in not only delivering sustainable growth, but also fosters a more equitable and prosperous future for all. So this leadership forum explores the significance of putting customers at the heart of leadership strategies. Once again, great to have you with us. And you can also join in on the conversation. Tweet us at NTV Kenya. And also we will sample some of your views and I will share the hashtag with you. But in the meantime, you can use hashtag Collar or also Collar Africa. So, ladies, customer-centric, well, that's often a word that we perhaps hear, but I'd be curious about how we define that when it comes to leadership and also why it's so important in this day and age, putting the customer first. Laura, I'll begin with you.
Well, thank you so much for the warm welcome. It's a delight to be here with such talented female leaders. I would say to you that it is so important at Collar to put the customer in the center of what we do, that we actually have the leading cultural belief is delight the customer at Collar. And that really means we challenge ourselves to delight the customer from their very first experience, whether it's an online experience, a showroom experience, the delivery of the product, the choosing of the product, to when they open the box and they use the product. So it's so important that we really take into account their needs, their desires, their pain points, and we listen and we react to feedback. So it's an ongoing cycle of being very attentive to all the markets that we're in and adjusting and continuing to adapt and being very fluid in how we think about meeting the needs of the customer.
So it sounds really as though Collar believes that customer is king, but why? Why do you put in so much effort? Why is it so important? I mean, it's great for a client, but why for the business as well?
Well, today customers have so many choices, and we have to distinguish ourselves by really being attentive. You know, you mentioned empathy in the intro, walking in the shoes of our customer, understanding what they need to actually live a gracious life, to better their lives. Our mission is really to enhance the lives of those who touch our products and services, helping our customers live a more sustainable, gracious, and healthy life. So we really want to do that at all the touch points.
All right, Sakina, I'll bring you in now. Why is customer-centric leadership so important when it comes to the business landscape, from your perspective?
So I would say that in our context, which is the provision of real estate developments, it's a very long-term asset, and therefore you have to think about not only what is relevant now, but what's going to be relevant in 50 years. And the thing that's important to us with that is a very data-driven development process. And so what we're doing is collecting information on how suburbs are evolving, how they're changing, what they will be like in 5 to 10 years, what that means for the kind of provision of real estate that's required. We think about what how will customer needs change from now to 15 or 20 years from now. And I think it's very important to, within that process, to make sure that you're creating real estate that is flexible and can change based on changing consumer needs.
Because I'm sure consumer needs are changing all the time.
Yes, and especially with especially the trends and the social dynamics are changing. We know that in the last 10 years we've seen a lot more screen time, we've seen a lot more isolation in communities, and how does real estate now come in to change that dynamic? And how do we provide spaces that change how we relate to each other, or reduce the amount of screen time that you know, the youth are having, for example. So a lot of data-driven or understanding or collecting data on what is happening, not only economic but also social, makes real estate development a lot more relevant from now to 50 years from now.
Right, okay, thank you. And Florence, I'll put the same question to you. You know, President of the Kenya Architectural Society, what does customer-centric mean to you and the organization? And again, why is it critical?
Thank you so much for that. For us, we're a membership organization, and it's very important that we put our members first. We actually exist so that we are able to put together the issues that our members are facing in the industry and advocate for them. So in terms of leadership, it's very important for us to know what it is that our members want and how we can advocate for them moving forward. I think what's also very important is that, as my fellow panelists have said, is that a lot of our customers today, they know a lot of things. At the touch of a button, they're able to understand quite a number of issues. So we also need to be on top of our game in terms of how we serve them. And at AAK, what we've done is that our advocacy is actually membership driven. We actually ask them what it is they want and how we can advocate for them better. So we carry out a lot of surveys over and above the information that we have, and we make sure that we are constantly communicating with them and keeping them in the loop on what is happening in the industry, and making sure that we are in spaces where we can actually advocate on their behalf. And that's why it's very important that our leadership at this particular juncture in time and in the industry is customer driven. It's driven by our members, and it's driven by what they want and what they want to see happening in the industry. Considering that AK is the leading organization in terms of advocacy for the built environment, we need to also understand what do professionals want and how do they want the industry to be guided, so that we are able to actually respond to the needs that they have.
Right, and as was mentioned, you know, customer demands or requests and needs are constantly evolving. So I'm curious then to know, because for example, decades back, you know, customers want to be involved and they want to have a say, but that still remains today. What are some of the changes though that you're noticing? You're saying that you ask for feedback. So what is it that you're seeing? Share some of those insights.
I think today, like I said, the customer is very, very aware of what's happening in the market. So the industry continuously changes, continuously evolving. And if you look at the architectural world, it's like the fashion industry. It's constantly changing every single day.
Except you can't change buildings as quickly as you can.
Exactly.
Clothes,
so what happens is that whatever the architect builds today becomes a timestamp for today. And so architects have this opportunity to actually create spaces that will then talk about this particular era that you're in, and that's very important. And so even as we continue to change, what comes to the fore is that our customers who are now very much aware of what is happening, then we need to turn towards what we call human-centered design, where the human being and the customer is actually king, but we're designing around them. That if you enter a room, you can actually tell that this space was designed with me in mind as a human being. And I think that's where we're heading to today, as opposed to, you know, designs that we had back in the day was very utilitarian, you know, it's just functional, but there's no feelings towards it, there's no space, you cannot really connect with it. And so as we move on, that's one of the things that we are seeing changing and evolving in how we are continuously serving our customers.
All right, thank you. Sakina, just back to you know, on the issue of customer preferences and also evolution, one might say that purchasing a home is one of the 3 milestones someone might want to achieve in their life. Perhaps, you know, views vary. But it seems that when people do that, purchasing a home is a big step, and people want that to be an extension of themselves, their home, and perhaps even of the next generation. How do you manage the weight of such expectations?
Actually, I would say that it's not a burden, it's actually an inspiration.
Oh, okay.
Because when you think about how pivotal a home is to your well-being, we realize how much impact we can make on the well-being of others. And that's actually what keeps us up or keeps us inspired. If you look at the way, and just to speak to what Florence was saying, is the way a home is laid out can affect the way can affect the relationships in the family. If you look at the how many spaces there are for interaction versus how many spaces there are for more secluded activities, you're actually designing how this family is going to interact with each other. When you look at how communities are spatially laid out, you're actually designing how neighbors are going to be with each other. When you're designing homes with space and light and volume, and deciding what sort of interaction you have with the indoor and the outdoor, you're deciding, or you're influencing what connection people have with nature. So to have that kind of impact on the day-to-day lives of our customers is hugely inspirational.
Yeah, all right. I didn't perhaps look at it from that perspective, so that is interesting. Laura, back to you now. Kohler, 150 years, and during that time, you know, it has evolved, and it is recognized as an organization, as we know, that is committed to customer satisfaction. How would you say that Kohler's leadership philosophy has evolved over the years to ensure that it puts customers first?
So 150 years is a long time to stay relevant and current. So I would say my great-grandfather started the company, and the bathtub was made out of cast iron. It was a horse trough with 4 legs. And he sold it to the farmers and their market right around the company in Wisconsin in the United States. I say that example because he listened to the market. He gave them a bathing solution that they needed. And today we are listening to our markets, and we have this philosophy of continuous improvement. And our best can always be better. So we have an operating phrase that says believing in better. Better planet, better communities, and better lives. So we really try through our design capability, our engineering capability, to continue to adjust and adapt and stay ahead of the fashion and trends. And kind of what Sakina said earlier is you have to stay 5 to 10 years ahead of what people think that they want or what they may need. And so Internet of Things is a way we bring technology into products. So that is a trend that is going to be, and is very important, whether it's a smart toileting solution, whether it's a showering solution that with technology you can turn your shower on before you get in and it starts at the temperature that you want, whether it's using our engineering capability and technology to lower water consumption in showers through a technology called Catalyst that takes air and forces it through water and gives you a wonderful showering solution, but it uses much less water. So today we are using technology and our continuous improvement design capability to enhance the experience for users, but do it in a very smart way.
I'm just curious, though, on that point you made about the bathtub that your grandfather created. Has the demand for such rustic and classic pieces totally declined?
Actually, good design lasts forever.
Right? Yeah.
So I think we compare ourselves and really study the global trends in fashion, right? Whether it is in outerwear, whether it is in jewelry, whether it is in other interior design aspects of a home, and we study what's going on. And you all know that there are some great brands around the world in fashion, and those design pieces of those collections are iconic. So there's things like the cast iron bathtub that comes back again, even though it was designed 50 years ago. There's shapes that that can be very iconic in faucets and fixtures. So I think it is about continuing to listen to great design and appreciate what your designers have done around the world. There's a freshness to some of them. Sometimes we'll put a new color on a classic design, or we'll inject technology into a great designed product. So we don't let go of great design, we continue to adapt and improve it.
Right, okay. Florence, I'll come to you in a moment, but Sakina, I just want to touch on something else. You know, it has been mentioned that you're not only thinking of the now, but you're thinking about what the customer may want in 10 years' time. And Florence touched on how AAK is interacting with their clients to ensure that they put customers first and remain relevant in that respect. But I'm curious to know from your organization, how do you ensure that you keep your ears on the ground to keep understanding that constantly, that constant evolution that's happening amongst your clients? What techniques are you using to create that connection?
So when it comes to property development, you have to look at the macroeconomic factors, and then you have to get down to customer preferences, right? So when it comes to macroeconomic factors, because this is a long-term asset, you have to make sure that what you're providing fits into the larger evolution of the city. So at all times you need to have your ear to the ground, not only with what your customers are saying, but also what's happening on an economic scale. And you know, we are in a very young economy relatively, and so data is hard to come by. And about 15 years ago, we heavily resourced our research arm, which basically sweeps the country for supply, price, and demand data. And we created the first property price index. And this is a continuing effort to just have data coming to us every day on every street in every suburb, specifically in Nairobi. And that tells us how cities are, how suburbs particular are evolving, what are the gaps within those suburbs, what is required. So that's kind of the high touch data that we need to just sort of understand how economically, what economically is required. And then you come to sort of the low touch data where you speak with your clients and you try to understand how their lifestyles are changing and what that means for design, and how you can bring those two together. So the economic sort of issues need to be resolved, and then also our social dynamics need to be influencing our design.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Florence, now, you know, it's interesting how everybody on this panel is talking about how you put the customer first and listen to their needs. But what happens in the instance whereby, as an architect especially, you know, your view contradicts that of your client? You know, at that point, how do you ensure that you achieve the best of design, but then also ensure that you know, keep your client satisfied at the same time? Tell us about that.
Yeah, all right. I think the first thing when a customer comes to you, you need to listen first. Just listen to what they have to say. Understand where they're coming from, because most of the time the client has some sort of a background information on what it is they want, because they have a desire to be able to, you know, achieve a house or you know, a piece of property in a certain way. So the most important thing you need to do is listen first. Listen, understand what it is they're saying. And then secondly is then, as an architect, because you understand, you've practiced for long, and that's why architecture is a practice. Right. You understand what's happening in the market, and you know what would be good for them. Then you begin to negotiate. I think it's important. Negotiation is a very important skill in life that will enable any architect to be able to, you know, understand the issues that they're dealing with and be able to negotiate with their client. And then most importantly is, it's very important also for us as architects to, you know, put ourselves out there and also understand what's happening in the market, to continuously educate ourselves on what's going on. You know, whether it's about traveling, whether it's about you know, interacting with, you know, products such as cola products, and understanding what is happening in the market, what is happening in the industry, traveling not only within our jurisdiction here in Kenya, but even outside, to understand what are the trends and what's going on, so that you're able to come to your client with an informed decision on what it is they should be doing. So when you come to the client at the end of the day, you're able to deliver a good design, which you've listened to what it is they wanted, you've negotiated around it, and you've used your experience to be able to deliver a product that they will understand. And I hope the clients who are out there listening today will allow us also to guide them, because that's what architecture is. We are there to guide you so that you're also able to do a good design, and a good design will actually help somebody to have a good life. And perhaps, as Sakina says, it will result in good property that has value and continues to increase in terms of value as time goes by.
Right.
Yeah.
Before we take a break, I just want to know though, how challenging can that be? Do you have any personal stories where perhaps you've been so keen to get a client to listen to you, but they've just been as stubborn as ever?
Yeah, the stubborn clients are there. You cannot avoid them. You cannot also wish them away. But they do teach you a lesson, and they teach you how to navigate, spaces such as those. But at the end of the day, one thing I must always say, and I know for any good architect, the client will always come back and say, thank you for giving me a good design, even when I was stubborn about something, because we know what we're doing. Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, at this point, we've got to take a quick break, but this conversation continues. You're watching the Nation Leadership Forum on NTV. Stay with us. This conversation about customer-centric leadership continues after this break.
With Glovo, you've got the city at your fingertips. Hanging out na mnataka kuku fry ama nyama choma customized na ugali sosa? Order Glovo. Now enjoy. Time to shower and running out of soap? Order Glovo. Now uanze siku fresh. Ama simply treat family nzima with a sweet surprise. Delicious. With Glovo, unaweza track order yako minute by minute. Download Glovo, order anything you want and receive it in minutes.
Show off your best skin with Nivea Nourishing Cocoa Body Lotion. Now with 5-in-1 Complete Care. The deeply nourishing formula prevents your skin from drying with precious cocoa butter and deep moisture for smooth and healthy looking skin. Step out in confidence with our most complete care from the world's #1 skincare brand.
Hayawi Hua. KRA presents to you Tax Amnesty. Receive 100% amnesty on accrued tax interest and penalties for periods up to 31st December 2022. Tax amnesty is valid until 30th June 2024. What are you waiting for? Press reset. Visit any KRA offices countrywide or call us on 0711 099 999 or email callcenter@kra.go.ke or visit the KRA website www.kra.go.ke to be advised on how you qualify. Chapa Reset na Tax Amnesty Program. Terms and conditions apply. Kenya Revenue Authority. Tulipe ushuru, tujitegemee.
This week on Pishi Bomba. Once you've tried this dessert, then you definitely want to learn how to make it. It's layers of sweet goodness with the perfect crunch. Aurelia wanted to learn how to make baklava, and that's exactly what we'll be making in the kitchen with me, Claire Karatu, on Sunday at 6:30 p.m. only on NTV. Pishi Bomba. Cook, eat, enjoy.
Win a 3-bedroom house in Nanyuki sitting on a 1/4 acre or a 30K weekly shopping voucher or a monthly plot. For every 100K you spend buying or paying for your plot, you earn 1 entry to the draw. The more you invest, the more entries you get. Bamba Nyumba na AMG.
All holders are notified to report and surrender unclaimed financial assets to the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority (UFAA) on or before November 1st, 2023. Visit www.ufaa.go.ke and get started.
Welcome back. You're watching the Nation Leadership Forum on NTV. I'm your host, Smriti Vidyarthi. This evening, we are discussing the importance of customer-centric leadership. And I've got an incredible panel of wonderful women leaders. I'll just introduce them once more. On my left, I have Sakina Hassanali. She is the Head of Development Consulting and Research at Hass Consult Real Estate. Beside her is Laura Koller. She is the Chief Sustainability and DEI Officer at Koller. And to my extreme left is Florence Nyole. She is the President of the Architectural Association of Kenya. Thanks for staying with us, ladies. So let's continue this conversation, but let me also remind you that if you want to contribute to this conversation by giving your comment perhaps or asking a question, just tweet us at NTV Kenya or at Smriti Vidyarthi. You can use the hashtags #Koller or #Koller Africa. And if you do send in a question, you stand a chance to win some goodies. So there's some motivation for you. And in fact, we do have one question from someone called Isaac Kangogo, and his question is linked to what I was going to start with anyway. He says, how do you enhance efficiency and sustainability in products, especially in regard to energy and water use? Now that's directed to you, Laura, and as you mentioned earlier, you do take into consideration the fact that water is a resource, and at this point it is quite scarce, and your products, that is bathtubs, showers, sinks, of course they consume, or humans consume water through those products. How then do you ensure that the products support water conservation? Because one may wonder, if I'm spending money on a brand new shower, I'm going to enjoy taking a very long shower. How then am I going to ensure at the same time I'm not wasting water? So take us through that.
Right. So that's an essential topic that we're all innovating around, talking about, and delivering results. And I would say it's important to the world, right, that we conserve water. We still have this idea of a gracious bathing experience or toileting experience, but we do it very thoughtfully, and we use our engineering and innovation capability. So we have something called Design for Environment. It's a methodology we use with every product we make around the world. We take into account the energy it uses, the weight of the product, the cost of shipping, the materials, the footprint it leaves, the water it uses. So we take into account all these things in a goal to be net zero by 2035 and wastewater and GHG. So that's the overarching goal of Koller, is to be super responsible with our product development and also our operational footprint. We want to also help you live a more sustainable life. So our goal is to give you choices of ways to enjoy your bathing space, but do it with products like showers that use this catalyst technology, shooting air through water, that gives you a great experience but minimizes your water usage. Using our engineering capability to drive water consumption down in toilets that still work very well but get that water usage down. In our faucets, we have functionality that actually lets you manage the water flow in a faucet, so you're not using the full water flow when you're washing your hands, because you don't need to have it gush out of your faucet. Right. So it's just really thoughtful design, and it's understanding that water is finite and really giving you yet a great experience, but managing that water so we're not wasting water. And it's exciting, and our engineers and design departments are up for the challenge.
What does that preservation of water, though, through this technology mean for the cost of the products?
Well, right now, I don't think you'll find that our products are more costly that are water efficient. I think you'll find, and our goal is to bring water efficiency to all the price points as well. So certainly in high-end products, But we should be innovating so that if you buy maybe the entry level price point product, you will still find water efficient products. So our goal is to really be thoughtful at all of the SKUs of Kohler in terms of water conservation.
Okay. Still on the topic of sustainability, because as we know, it is a critical one. Florence, I'll ask you, how much of that does the association take into consideration when creating plans? How sustainable are the architects and the clients, I suppose?
Yeah, thank you for that. Sustainability is a conversation that is here with us, and it will be with us for a very long time. As we all know, architecture and basically buildings contribute heavily to the carbon footprint across the world, and even in terms of emissions. And especially if you take something as simple as cement, with clinker, so we are contributing heavily to what we're calling climate change. And therefore architects need to be very much aware of how it is they do their designs, and even how it is they relate to their clients. I'll tell you this, any architect who's trained across the world has been taught about sustainability, because building science is almost mandatory in all the course units. You must understand how you're lighting your building, how you're ventilating your building, even in terms of sound, and having good space within those areas. So architects can and should be practicing sustainability at the core of every project that they do. At AAK, we emphasize on it. We actually have an environmental design consultants chapter. At AAK, we've launched our own green building rating tool, which we're calling the Safari Green Building Rating Tool. We've also done research around healthy homes, and just by having a small checklist, somebody can see whether the drawing that they've been given by the architect is going to give them a healthy home, and does it have good lighting, does it have proper ventilation, is it using the correct materials, and so on and so forth. So at AK we pride ourselves in pushing the agenda of sustainability, which is very important and is vital. And what we're trying to do is to say that all buildings actually should be sustainable, but by all means necessary, and architects should pride themselves in creating that space. And at the end of the day, what you're trying to do and trying to enhance, within the industry, is to create this culture of people continuously checking whether their buildings are actually sustainable. And it doesn't have to come just from the architects, but also from the general public, that they need to know, how do I know that my building is sustainable? And so that's what we're trying to push for at the end of the day.
Okay. Yeah. Sakina, are you finding that you have more clients who are environmentally conscious, and are they looking for healthy homes that will then lead to healthy lives? What is it that they're looking for at this point when we talk about sustainability?
So yeah, definitely. I think that especially in the last 5 years, it's definitely been more of a topic that's been brought up, and clients are starting to make that a little bit of a what's the word?
A priority.
A priority,
perhaps.
yeah.
Okay.
And they're looking toward that. I wouldn't say that it's reached as big of, it's not as big a movement as it is in the first world, but it's definitely getting there. And I think the pressure from customers to adapt these things is what changes developers' decisions. And until that happens, they're a little slow to implement. So I think that's quite important, to get that pressure from the customer base.
Okay. All right, we've just got to take another quick break. The 9 o'clock news is coming up in 30 minutes, but this is what you can expect in the broadcast. In just a moment, you'll have the news highlights, and then we'll be back in a moment.
There's a lot going on at the moment in this house.
Their true identity is uncovered in the brand new unmissable Zari. Starts 23 October, only on Maisha Magic Plus, channel 163 on DSTV Access, GoTV Plus, channel 3.
When your kids bond with you, you're giving them a great start. Prestige Margarine. It all starts with a great start. now comes in the original and vanilla flavor.
You do your best out there. Let us do our best in here with the disinfecting power of Jake. Because Jake cleans and kills 99.9% of illness-causing germs and COVID-19 in your home. Jake, your family's guardian against germs and COVID-19.
Mortein Doom, with its trusted formulation, it provides protection in seconds. So spread the Mortein Doom message of how we, you and I, can fight to end malaria. Mortein Doom,
Kenya's #1 choice.
This is NTV.
Tonight.
Ilikuwa heko kwetu, Shujaa Day ikuje Kericho. Sasa alikuwa na furaha akienda. Hatukujua itakuwa kilio baadaye.
Walking to her death in darkness. Family of Doreen Chepkirui, who died in a stampede Friday, says power blackout made her go to Kericho Green Stadium for Mashujaa Day celebrations. Also tonight.
And yet you want us to pretend to be engaging in some dialogue in Bomas.
Taking frustrations to dialogue retreat. Opposition leaders vowed to bump the National Dialogue Committee retreat in Nakuru. We reveal the details right here. Plus, the Queen of Maralal, who inspired legendary Les Wanyika's Safari ya Samburu. We tell you why she was irresistible. And
being the first female doctor from this community is a privilege. It's really a privilege. And I really thank God about that. So many young girls are looking up to me.
Beating the odds to acquire the highest education accolades in a region synonymous with banditry and low education enrollment. Dr. Jen Kukat on women and power.
And we need 2 Royco cubes because iron gives you strength to skuma yourself to be the best you can be.
Are you looking for a home or investment option? Alba Garden offers a precious piece of luxury located in Kilimani on Kasuku Road off Lenana Road. Our amenities include fully equipped gym, high-speed lifts, CCTV and visual conversational system, vehicle management system, intelligent lock, clubhouse, children's playing ground and infinity swimming pool. We have studios, duplex penthouses and 1 to 3 bedroom apartments starting from $49,000 all en suite with fitted kitchen. Our payment plans are also flexible from 20% deposit. Hurry, because 70% sold out. Grab the opportunity today by calling 0735 939999 or 0799 000 or email us for details. Alba Garden, where luxury meets convenience.
In this life, not every hero is crowned.
And this week on Crossover, we want to take time to crown the Shujaas who are making a difference in the society.
Joining us in studio is Pastor Steve Bugwa, who has been reforming the young people alongside Kevin Wanyoike.
So save the date and catch the show this Sunday from 11:30 to 1 p.m. only on NTV. And this is Crossover.
Win a 3-bedroom house in Nanyuki sitting on a 1/4 acre or a 30K weekly shopping voucher or a monthly plot. For every 100K you spend buying or paying for your plot, you earn 1 entry to the draw. The more you invest, the more entries you get. Bamba Nyumba na AMG.
All holders are notified to report and surrender unclaimed financial assets to the Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority, UFAA, on or before November 1st, 2023. Visit www.ufaa.go.ke and get started.
Thanks very much for staying with us. This is the Nation Leadership Forum, and as mentioned, this conversation is all about the customer and why they should come first. All right, so Sakina, we do have a question from Kelvin Waswa, and his question is, in a world of and chat box, how important is the human touch in customer interactions to you?
Wow, that's a really good question. I would say that the automated sort of or more technical way of approaching customers, where you have a lot of sort of systems automated, improves efficiency, but it can't replace the human touch, because at the end of the day, I don't know that automated chat boxes can have empathy.
That's right.
Or really connect with the customer, or really understand their pain points. But I do think that automation helps in the efficiency of the whole process, so that customers feel like that they're able to very quickly have their needs addressed, especially where some of the things that they want to know are quite sort of common, and there's more automated responses for those sort of things.
And at Has Consult, what are you seeing more? Do you interact with clients more physically, or is it through automated services?
At the moment, it's very physical. We have a very good touch point with our customers. We have very good relationships with them. And I think with regard to automation, it will only be to increase efficiency of information dispersion, but it cannot replace relationships.
Yeah. Laura, do you have a comment on that?
Well, very similar. Our role is to make sure that our electronic information flow to a customer is providing ease and satisfaction. They can find things when they need it, but it does not replace putting the relationship at the center of what we do, and also the relationship with architects and designers as well. So many times, Kohler's, the intermediary is our showroom owner, or it could be the architect and designer. So we have multiple different kinds of relationships that we invest in and maintain personal interactions with, and that's very important. But the electronic information flow is also important, because that's the way people many times find out about what we have, and they find their way to a physical space where they can experience the product.
Right. On the topic of relationships, Florence, you must have a very varied group of customers, from individuals, people aspiring to build homes, to also government, the government itself, the hospitality industry as well. How do you manage to strike the balance between all of those different clients? If you compare maybe to Sakina, you know, it's all right, I want to purchase a home. And of course, people have different visions as well. But when it comes to architecture, how do you manage that?
Yeah, you're right. We have varied clients, you know, from, you know, all walks of life at the end of the day. And what's most important sometimes, especially if you're running a practice, is to also have personnel who are able to understand and relate very well with the different segments of clients. If I take, for instance, somebody in my office who's running government related projects, then I would want them to run with that so that they're able to manage that quite well. But you have maybe somebody who's very good at dealing with homes and maybe smaller units, maybe residential projects, then I'm able to handle that very well. But maybe I want to switch this to AAK, because we actually also deal similarly. We have our members, but we also have to have advocacy with government, both at county and national levels. Yeah. So we also have to have that. And what we've done at AAK is that we do have a strong advocacy arm that then runs with issues to do with government and government relationships. And on the other on the other side, we have a strong membership and communications arm where the issues of members are actually dealt with by somebody who runs that throughout the entire period of time when AK has been in existence. So it's also to categorize these different clients and to have somebody who's specifically dealing with those issues in that matter, and that way then you're not bombarded trying to figure out everything, because at the end of the day that's also very important. Another way also that has helped us, and maybe through the internet and social media, is that now we try as much as possible to also communicate directly to all our clients, both members as well as government. And we're very strong on our social media platforms. We are strong on WhatsApp. It's becoming the new way of communicating and messaging and email. So we are making sure that we are able to also broadcast messages. There are people who read it through social media. Some will prefer to look at their emails, and some would want to see it on WhatsApp. So you're able to also deal with them in the way that they want. But at the end of the day, our doors are very open. We're very happy to always welcome our members when they have issues, and when they, even just renewing a license. We've tried as much as possible to also automate some things that don't necessarily need somebody to move forward, and therefore it also helps us in terms of efficiency at the end of the day.
Laura, how critical would you say training is, training of staff, when it comes to ensuring the customer is treated as king? Because there are several instances where there is so much frustration because of lack of training. Staff members perhaps of an organization, perhaps it could be a hotel or a restaurant or whatever it might be in the service industry, does not meet the highest of standards. And a lot of it comes down to a lack of training. How critical is that?
It's absolutely critical. Helping our associates that work for Kohler and our showroom staff around the world really understand how to, and help them, right, with information, knowledge about the newest products, the newest fashion trends, how to interact with a customer to help them problem solve, create options. All of those things are important and ever evolving. So training isn't a one-time experience. It's something that a company like Kohler has to continue to invest in, and also create opportunities to educate, to set examples, be role models, to create advocacy opportunities, conversation, and ways to continue really that ever-changing environment of what's happening in the world, and bring that to the customers so that they have choice, they understand options, and they can solve for their better lives, really, how to create gracious experiences in their own spaces.
Sakina, from where you sit, what are some of the challenges in achieving this customer-centric leadership approach and satisfying the customer?
I would say it's probably something that Florence spoke to earlier, is I think as a business you want to get down to the pain points of a client or customers, and then be innovative in how you solve those problems. But sometimes the client won't see it, won't understand it, and I think that's the difficult part, because when you have so much background and information, having to sort of talk them through why this will work, and pushing through that first stage of sort of, what's the word, is some sort of resistance, is difficult sometimes. And sometimes you still have to push through it, because you know that you are trying to resolve a pain point, and you've just got to have to push past that resistance until the proof is in the pudding and they can see it.
Okay. All right. There's another question that has come in, and that is from Paige Florians. Paige asks, what does exceptional customer service mean to you, Florence?
I think if I walk into a room and I feel like the designer designed it for me, I'd be happy. It's just the way even the tap opens, the way I switch on the lights and so on and so forth. I think when the customer feels that they have been listened to, that they have been responded to, that their issues have been addressed, I think then that is, the epitome of what customer service is for me.
And what about you, Laura?
I think it's when a customer falls in love with your brand because they've had great experiences, and they actually say, I would love to buy or renovate my next bathroom, or they refer you to their friend. I think that's the signal that they have fallen in love with the product and the experience.
And yourself, Sakina?
So I think it's probably similar to what I mentioned earlier. Is for us, it's really drilling down to the pain points. And I think in terms of home purchasing, there's two types of people. There's the investors, and then there's also the people who want to who want to live in the houses that they purchase, and really getting down to what are they trying to resolve here, and being creative and innovative in how you solve that problem for us is, I think, is very sort of central to what we do.
Okay, so we've talked so much about you know, customer-centric initiatives and customer-centric leadership. But let me ask another question before I come to that, because we also talked about the importance of, yes, incorporating customer-centric and that sort of an attitude in a leadership style as well. And Laura, you know, you've done that because you have, of course, managed communication at Collar. You've also managed human resources, stewardship and sustainability before then taking up this role as Chief Sustainability and DEI Officer. How have you managed to keep customer centricity at the heart of now your decision making as a leader?
So it's staying close to your markets, really, you know, really understanding global design trends and paying attention to other industries. What is hot in other industries, what's coming. And I think it's having global design studios. You can't just have design emanate from one part of the world, because you won't have a world view. So we have design studios not only in the US, we have them in India, in parts of China, and also in Europe and the UK. So designers are always looking and seeing what's coming, and they are feeding that into our global design process, and then listening to the markets where we're serving the customer. So really trying to be both global but local at the same time, and empowering local teams to problem solve and create that relationship locally, but yet using the best of Kohler with global design and capability.
Right, okay. I was going to ask this question about how do you measure the success of your customer-centric initiatives, but I'm going to skip that because we're almost out of time, and I just want to close, or you can loop that into your final answer, because the final question that I will ask is, what is your message to the audience that's watching at home, Sakina, when it comes to the point of putting the customer first?
I think what's really interesting, at least in the perspective of Kenyan real estate at the moment, is we're a very young country relatively, and for the longest time we have imported a lot of design, and I think we're in a phase now where we're exploring what the Kenyan architectural landscape is. What is our context? What is our environment? What is our ways of living? What are our social dynamics? And we are actually tailoring architecture to fit Kenya, and I think that is what I'm most excited about, because we can finally have our own language, our own design language.
Thank you. Florence, I'm sure you agree, but add on to that.
I'm quite happy to hear that, because I think one of the challenges, of course, we have is we have a lot of you know, foreign architecture you know, in Nairobi. Yet Nairobi is a very rich place. We can really build something of our own. And so for me, I think the message would be that I would just encourage everybody who's listening in today, that wherever it is, you'll be given an opportunity to serve, you know, serve your customer, serve your clientele. However young you are, however old you are, just make sure they're happy and they're able to relate with you. And I think at the end of the day, it is actually a duty as architects to, you know, create spaces that are healthy, create spaces that are happy, and create spaces that are beautiful.
Okay, thank you. And very briefly, Laura, your final message.
I would say we're bringing the best of Kohler to Kenya, at the same time respecting the culture and learning here and listening and creating great relationships to really deliver great experiences for all of those people who are really interested in investing in their homes.
Great. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us. I'm afraid that's all we have time for, but it has been an insightful conversation. You've been watching the Nation Leadership Forum. Thank you so much to my guests, Florence, Laura and Sakina, for their contribution on this topic about customer-centric leadership. That's all we have time for on the Nation Leadership Forum. I'm Smriti Vidyarthi. Do stay tuned. The news is up next in a few minutes with my colleague, James Smart. Good night from me.